Check out my marketplace score today. Guy's going out of business with a slab shop. So I got these 3 pieces of cherry. They were gonna be for a craft desk project. And then I got this nice piece of walnut. It's got the black walnut in the middle with the nice white stripes on the sides. That's gonna be for a plant stand. And then I also got these 3 pieces of walnut. And okay, guess how much I paid for all this? $200. That's a good deal. Anyways, I want to put a little water on this walnut. Check out some of the figuring on this one. Oh yeah, it's got some nice curly sections of it. That's cool. Get an idea of what color it'll look when it's clear coated. We'll do either epoxy or clear coat on it. So that'll be our walnut. That's our plant shelf. And then for our art desk, we'll be looking at something like that. All right, so just have to finalize some plans, some drawings, come up with the design. And we'll take a couple measurements. This we're gonna put below a window, and we want it to be nice and wide so we can fit, some different plants across it. We're gonna have some different tiers to it, have some ideas for how we're gonna do that. So it should be neat. All right, let's start working on it. We're gonna run the planer down the middle and try to get some of this curvature out, make it a little flatter. The main part that's going to be at the top of the bench, let's say from like here to here, is pretty nice and flat. And the underside of this I'll give some attention to, but it doesn't need to be perfect. Alright, this is mostly sanded out with 60 grit on the belt sander. This green is starting to come out and it's going to look pretty nice. Check this out. The way the light's going to catch those and just bring them out, the ripples. Oh man, that's going to be cool. Walnut's such a beautiful wood to work with. Got the rough belt sanding done, did the edges too. And next I'm just going to hit it with the orbital sander. There is something to be said for just working the wood with your hand tools and getting the feel for it and, watching it. It's a process, just watching it take place and seeing what you want to do, what pieces you want to accent as you build a piece. Okay, so this bench that I'm making, it's going to be a plant bench, as I was saying. It's going to be a waterfall style, so the top will come across, miter, and then turn down on each end. When I cut these miters on the edges, I want to not take out very much material at all because I want the grain to continue right around the corner. I'm going to be joining the waterfall edges with these. They're sort of like Amazon version of dominoes. No, I do not have a domino cutter. They are $1,500, but you can make holes just fine with your router to use these. And they're supposed to be more forgiving and stronger than just using dowels or pins or biscuits. So yeah, I'm gonna try these for this project and put probably 3 in each edge of the waterfall joint, glue it all up real good. It's difficult to even mock this up because of the shape of it, but basically here's what we're looking at after initial round of cutting. The grain lines up nice and the edge looks good, but see this curvature on the back side? I'll have to carve some of this out so it matches up with this shape. That should be good. Alright, for the tenons or dominoes, they'll sit like a 90-degree angle to this joint. Somewhere right in the middle. That should catch plenty of meat. This wood is really hard and that should be plenty strong. So we'll do, as far as placement, we'll do probably 4 across, 3 or 4 across, space them out. Okay, so it took about half an hour of doing, but I came up with this jig, and that should line up the dowels for my plunge router right on the edge. So I'll show you how this is going to work. Take a piece of scrap and clamp on top here so we have an extra wide base for the router to sit on, and then you can see that'll be our edge guide right there. And we'll set that right on the top edge, line up our mark this way, and then go ahead and plunge the router down in, and that should be able to give us consistent marks from the top down to the center for our tenon placement. Alright, can we just take a minute to appreciate how tools and toolboxes used to be made? Look at this little router toolbox. This is the second router that I had that was the same motor. That flips up, and then your base and motor sit right down on the ground. Even look at this base. See, that's all metal construction, except for the low friction surface for it to glide on. But besides that, look at that. They don't make them like they used to, do they? Here's my motor I'm going to be using in the plunge base, and that's going to have a 5/16 mortise bit on it, and that should get our correct width. glued up now. I'm evening up the legs after it's all glued up. Set it flat on the floor, trace the bottoms, and cut a little bit off. Feels pretty sturdy. Alright, so for some of the different stands on the plant bench, I just made a sketch here of some different shapes I want to make for some different tiers. And so I'm going to start out by making a sort of a cross piece that'll be one of the vertical stands. And then I'm also going to carve out sort of a radius both directions square piece, and then probably like 3 individual 3/4 by 3/4 stanchions that will go up to the shelf on this side. Pieces for uprights. So we got that guy, 3 of these guys. So now we'll plane them down and sand them a little bit and get them all looking good. Alright, there we go. That's our one shaped piece. For this last upright, I'm going to make these 2 pieces sort of in a cross shape. So I marked these in the center. I'm going to cut a strip out of the middle of one side and the other side, and then slide them together. Alright, so that's what she looks like. My 3 upright pieces are this cross-shaped piece, my hourglass shaped piece, and then 3 just square bar type of pieces. Alright, and these are going to hold up 3 pedestals. So these are all 3 different heights. They're going to be asymmetrical. And the hourglass and the cross are going to go on the right side. And these 3 squares, 3 square tubes will go on the left side. And they're going to hold up some different heights of pedestals above the waterfall bench. Go Penguins, by the way. 4-game winning streak right now. Yeah, love it. Okay, so I'm liking this design with the different style uprights. It has a nice kind of artsy look to it, and it reminds me of like the pads of foliage on maybe a little bonsai tree or something. So here's our bench, and I'm going to, I don't really like these spots, so I'm going to sand the rest of those spots off so it's a more consistent white finish. I just think I'll like the look of that better. And then these uprights are going to go somewhere in like this position, and then 3 back here. I like the pads that sit on the top of these to sort of have an organic look. They're not just going to be regular squares. Those have sort of some wedge-shaped pieces for the upper layers, and then I do have a coin or medallion of walnut that I think I might use for on top of that one. This has some really nice wood grain in here, so So here's my other options. I can use the rest of this piece. It does have some really nice color in there. Go. Looks pretty nice. That would be the upper pad for this side. The very top right one, the upright. There's the bottom coin, hourglass piece. There's our concept, and here's our left side shelf that's kind of mid. Look at those colors. Looks better. We got those spots sanded off. Alright, that's probably gonna be good. Oh yeah. 7-8 minutes, I want to say. So I just got to do that 3 more times and then 3 more times again on the bench. But hey, we're doing this for fun. We're not trying to make money doing this or anything like that. So it doesn't matter how long it takes because we're having a good time making this. Looks good. Line that up how I want it, and then trace around this top. Little toadstool. What we need to do now is get the next toadstool looking pedestal, and it's going to tie in with this upright. So I need to fit the two together. Now these aren't perfectly parallel, so I'm going to take a measurement up here and move the bottom posts before I mark them so that they are parallel. That'll tweak them in a little bit. Now that these are fitted, before I glue those in, I'm going to do my epoxy flood coat. So I'm going to do epoxy flood coat on the 2 ends of the waterfall bench, this end and this end, because it'll be a lot easier to maneuver and stand on its side because I need to have those surfaces horizontal. I'm going to move everything inside in a nice weather controlled, temperature controlled and humidity controlled space. The flood coat of the epoxy resin is just going to go on the top surfaces and on the edge. Everything else will be matte finish polyurethane. Alright, moved inside. We're going to use some nice sticky tape to make a dam on the edges. Mixing up about 4 ounces of epoxy resin. This is one that I've used before. It's non-yellowing, no odor. Just scrape the sides really well to make sure it's thoroughly mixed, and you don't want to get a lot of bubbles in it. So you want to be careful with mixing, not to get too crazy. We are next morning, and I'm doing another light coating before it's cured. So this is about 12 hours later. You have to do this within 24 hours. Okay, so we got our pedestals done and dried, and we got our other side of our waterfall bench. So time to glue some pieces in. We'll let that glue dry for about a day. All right, so now we're gonna do the underside of this guy right here. And we are going to use triple thick polyurethane. I like this stuff. This is a matte clear finish, water-based, cleans up easy. Hopefully just one coat, we'll see how it goes. But I'm going to do all the underside, edges, bottoms of the pedestals, sides of the pedestals, and all the uprights. So, all right, we'll put this on. Okay, so here's the finished product. My plant stand, got my epoxy resin pour on the top, and triple thick matte finish on the sides. And I got my different shapes here. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It looks organic, looks artsy, and it's going to give me some nice window space in front of a window I have upstairs for some little plants that I'm going to put on there. So yeah, this was a fun winter project that killed a few dark nights and some cold nights and kept me out of trouble.